What's up, everybody, and welcome and happy holidays. Today we're going to be talking about sub-ohm vaping, how to, things you should know, things you should never do, things you should do, etc. Now, right now I'm just vaping my Protein 3 with my Chi-U with the kick at 12 watts. I'm obviously not going to be showing you guys how to sub-ohm vape with this thing. I'll be showing you guys this monster right here, but that's my Nimbus. But pretty much a couple of things you should know is I'm not going to be one of those people that just posts a video and gives it the title, how to sub-ohm vape. And I don't tell you shit, that's just not going to be me. I've seen so many videos where people post videos of like how to or something like that, and they don't even say shit. They'll just tell you build a coil these ohms and you're good. That's bullshit. So let's first start off with things you'll need. Things you'll need are now you may want to get out your vape budget hands here, because when money talks, especially with sub-ohm vaping, things are going to be getting a bit pricey. First, you're going to need a mechanical mod. Second thing you're going to need is some batteries. Whether you like to vape an 18650 or 18490, 18350, that's just kind of between you and your personal preferences. It's not going to diminish the quality of your coils, the quality of your vape, the size of your clouds. However, I will tell you guys in a minute, the amount of amps you can safely pull out of some batteries will determine the quality of your vape. Whether or not you end up building a coil completely wrong and you put a battery in there that shouldn't even be in there in the first place, it shouldn't even be in your mechanical, and you end up blowing your face off because you were being an idiot or you were just a newbie getting into it. Now, if you're just starting off vaping but you want to cloud chase, you know what? Go ahead, go for it. You just have to know how to do it safely. If you've been vaping for 5 years, for 10 years, or I don't think vaping's been out for 10 years, but if you've been vaping for that long and you just kind of want to get into it, or you just want to try it just to try it, or you think it's a phase and you just want to get it out of your system, then what have you, I'll just go ahead and just show you guys how it's done. Don't mean to sound arrogant, but what you should know: battery safety, how many ohms you should safely put your coils at, what materials you'll need, what you'll need to buy, what you'll need to have. So pretty much first thing you're going to need, first and foremost, is a mechanical mod. Whether you want a box mod that's a mechanical, like the Touchwood, where it's literally like a box and you just put your atomizer on there and you just vape it. That's completely your preference. Whether or not you want a tube mod or you want a hybrid, then there you go. But some hybrids won't let you build below a certain coil, build below a certain ohm, which I can see why. But then again, if you're spending like $120 on like an E-cig because you want a cloud chase, you can do it. But there's certain things you need to know, But that's going to be a little bit later on. So, pretty much what a mechanical is, if you guys don't know, is basically a metal tube with firing pins that holds a battery. Now, with that being said, mechanicals shouldn't be they shouldn't be above like 80, 70 bucks, but now you do have some works of art like the Caravella that I can see why it's like 160, 200 bucks, but typically, unless you're getting a gold-plated mechanical with like your name engraved on there and it's just a beautiful work of art and there's only a limited number, then in that case, yeah, sell it for 200, But if you're just getting something brass that looks good, some good quality material, has some good firing pins on there. Shouldn't be below a certain price. Now, what a firing pin is pretty much that. This right here is a firing pin. When you're shopping for a mechanical, what you want to look for is quality of the firing pins, not necessarily the quality of the tubes of the materials, like the quality of the tube or anything like that. It's completely, that's your preference. If you like a stainless steel tube, if you want some shitty ass, some shitty looking mod that you just want to get a sander and just sand the hell out of it just to make it look used, and you know what, man, go for it. That's, if it's your thing, that's your thing. But you want to look for is the quality of the firing pins. You don't have to look for an adjustable firing pin. There's some mods where, like in the Touchwood, you don't have an adjustable firing pin, but typically you kind of want an adjustable firing pin. Adjustable firing pin means you can screw it out to have a little bit more space or less space. When you screw it out, it's less space, so you don't have battery rattle. But you don't want to screw it out too much, otherwise you'll end up puncturing your battery. Because if you screw it out too much and you drop it, your mechanical's going to be alright, but your battery could puncture, and when that happens you get a phenomenon known as venting. When your battery starts venting, it's venting toxic gases. Now if your mod doesn't have any vent holes in it to vent those gases, then the pressure's pretty much going to just build and build inside your mod until it's basically going to explode, or until you're gonna take off your top cap, and then you're gonna feel a little bit of resistance, like, man, like why can't I take this thing off? And then you take it off, and then after that you're just gonna get a sound that sounds like air is leaking, like you have a leak of air. If you ever punctured a tire, then it'll sound like a kind of sound, and you're thinking, what the fuck is that? What that is the toxic gases venting out from your battery. So you want to look for that. Good quality firing pin. Well, you don't want that to happen. Now, the quality of the firing pins. Don't go for stainless steel. Now, not all of us are metal experts or chemists where we can just look at a unknown metal and be like, oh, that's silver, or that's silver with a little bit of copper in there, or that's nickel. So it's always good to ask the person, if you get it at a vape shop or if you get it online, email the company and say, hey, or do your research on it, figure out what kind of firing pins, the quality. Because if you get stainless steel, it's not very conductive and your vape is not going to be that good. But however, if you get firing pins that are brass, like in your Chi-Yu, brass is or copper, that is really good conductive material. Not the best, but it's definitely up there, and you'll be able to tell. The quality of your vape will be better, your clouds will be bigger, things like that. Right now I had a kick running in here, and when vaping a dual coil at sub-ohms, we're going to get over what that is in a minute, you don't want to have something like a kick in there where you can change the wattage, because kicks, be it the version 1 or the version 2, clone or not, they do not like dual coils. They do not agree with sub-ohm coils. Vaping below certain ohms, they do not like it. They will not agree with it. And not only that, they have that safety feature built in where they're not going to let you vape that low of ohms. So you don't want to have any electrical stuff in there. You don't want to have a fancy computer chip or anything. You just want to have the tube that holds your battery, your switch, and your firing pins, because that's basically all mechanical is. Now, another thing you want to look for, now this is just the quality of your mod, is whether or not the threadings are smooth or not. But then again, that's just getting into quality of mechanicals. To have a better quality vape, you want to make sure that your your switch, switch at the bottom, is smooth or not, because it will affect the quality of your vape. If you get a switch that sucks and you're just going to keep getting misfires, or you're going to click it down and it doesn't fire at all, and let's say you have your battery screwed in as tight as you can go and it still won't fire, that's all in the switch. But then again, as I said, that could just be getting into the quality of the mod, the certain likes and dislikes of a mechanical or whatever. So went over the mod, kind of went into the battery a little bit. Now, the type of battery you're going to want to have is, yes, you could do an AW IMR 18650, red ones. IMR means hydrane. What a hydrane means is you can have a whole bunch of amps pulled out of this battery and it would be safe. However, if you build your coils to where it's sucking out 20 amps and you have, for example, this one where it can only safely, its maximum load it can output is 10 amps, that's getting a bit dangerous. That's more than just living on the dangerous side. That's playing with fire. You're gonna get burnt. Something's gonna happen. Whether your battery short circuits, or your coil short circuit, or your entire mod just kaboom. It's kind of have to factor in. A $20 battery, $30 battery, versus like a couple hundred or a couple $1,000s in hospital bills. Get out your vape budget hands on that one. The type of battery you do want to use is something like this. This is from MNKE. I don't know how to pronounce it, or if you just say the letters or what, but it is a hydrane battery rated at 30 amps. 30 amps. So even if you build like a 0.2 ohm coil where it's sucking out maybe, I don't know, I can't do the math off the top of my head, but I'm going to say like maybe 25 amps, you're protected with this battery. You have an extra 5 amps of wiggle room. If saying this build, which I'll go over in a minute, a little bit later on, where it's sucking out 12 amps, I am protected with this because this thing can handle 30 amps, no problem. So I have an extra 18 amps of safety space. You always want to have at least a little bit of, at least want to have a couple of amps of safety space. Now, you don't have to absolutely do it, but it's preferred, safety first. But if you were to build like a 0.5 ohm coil where it only needs like 9 amps, or a 0.6 ohm coil where it needs 8 amps, then hell yeah, just go for a $15 AW IMR, whether you want 18650, 18350, which is basically the size of your battery. It's all up to you. But I do know that the 18650s have a 10 amp limit, so you'll be protected if you have like a 0.6 ohm coil. You'll be good. You'll be safe. So, and another thing, this is kind of common sense, but you want to make sure that the positive end is always going to be up, or basically, if it helps you, the negative end is always where your switch is going to be. Whether it's a bottom mounted switch or a side switch, you always want the negative to be down. Screw down, pretty much just put it all together. Adjust your firing pins to your liking. You'll have some battery rattle, maybe, depending on how you adjust your screws. Some people love it, as I said in my other video. Some people not love it. Some people hate it. It annoys, pardon my French, the shit out of them. But other people like me, they're either, it kind of bothers us a little bit, or we just don't give a shit. So pretty much, you're gonna hear a little bit of rattle, but I just like my switch to travel far. However, if you have it too loose, you're not going to make a good connection. And you'll be thinking, man, my mod's misfiring. No, it just means you have you're not completing the circuit. So, see how this goes. Screw it down a little bit further. And like I said, you don't want to get it so, you don't want to get that battery so compressed where if you drop it, it's going to puncture the battery. That is a big no-no. Not only would it vent, you may affect the life of your battery as well. There we go. Now, another thing you're going to need, whether you want a Genesis style atomizer or a atomizer where you just drip in it, let me go over what those are. You can get clouds on a on a Genesis style. Pretty much what Genesis style is something like the steam turbine. Let me just take this all apart for you guys. Not all apart, but enough where you guys can see what's going on. Okay. There's that. Then I'll take apart this atomizer, my Nimbus. So in a dripping one, you'll have this. Here's your connection at the bottom, where you screw it into your mod, obviously. Same thing for a Genesis style. You have that same connection. Difference is, if you look right here, it looks fairly the same. You can build up here your coils of choice. Same thing right here. You can build your coils to whatever preference you want. But the difference is, you see that? The Genesis style holds the liquid, as opposed to this one, where the only way you can get the liquid on there is via the wicks. So you pretty much just drip your stuff on there, and there you go. You could also drip on a Genesis, but that's kind of, what's the point of getting it, you know? You kind of bought the Genesis so you don't have to drip, but yeah. So you could build whatever ohm coils you want on a Genesis. I have this one at 0.3 ohms. I'm always vaping at 0.3 ohms, but that's just me. You can build it at 0.3 ohms and just, you know, get some good clouds and just vape your face off. So there's the difference between dripping and a Genesis. So now you know basically what an atomizer is. A rebuildable. Rebuildable means you can rebuild the coils. You can use the stock coils that it comes with, but if you want to just use the stock coils that it comes with and just not give a fuck, then you shouldn't be on this video in the first place, unless you're a fan of me, whatever. But yeah, kind of got my hands a little juicy. So pretty much, the difference between a single coil and a dual coil is you'll have your coils built to whatever ohms you want, and you'll have just one of those coils going in with your wick. So you just have one set of coils. That's a single coil. So if you do something like 3 wraps on it, you'll have 0.6 ohms. With the dual coil, you have that same exact coil right here and another identical coil going in through the bottom. So you have 2 coils on here. It's called a dual coil. And same thing comes with a 3 or a tri-coil or a quad coil. Same thing, just 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of coils on there. Whatever ohms you'd prefer to build on, that's between you and your battery. That's between you and your personal preference. The safest ohms to vape at and get clouds is below 0.7, 0.7, and 0.3. You can vape at 0.25, you can vape at 0.1 ohms, but to be on the safe side, I mean, if you have the right battery, go for it, but to be on the safe side, get a battery where you know you're going to have a buttload of safety space of amps. You'll be very well protected, because then you'll be able to just vape your face off for days and just not give a fuck. Your battery's protected, you know you're good, then that's pretty much what we're going for. So you screw your atomizer, your rebuildable, whether you want a Nimbus or you want a Kronos or whatever. You know, it's all your preference. Fire it, and there you go. And right now, and as I said before in all my other videos, this webcam is kind of alright quality. It does not do these clouds justice. If I had a better quality camera, you would see the density in them. Also, the type of liquid you're gonna want to use to get the most clouds is 100% VG juice, or the most VG possible. VG is vegetable glycerin. People are still conducting tests at universities just to see if VG is safe to vape, but it's pretty much 100% organic, so you're not going to have to worry about what you're putting in your body. If you want VG, okay, well, pretty much. If you built like a 0.4, 0.5 ohm coil, sorry about the squeaking, that's just my chair rubbing against the steel right here, but you will get flavor. You'll still get a lot of flavor vaping with VG. But if you vape with PG, you'll get more flavor, but not as much clouds. As opposed to vaping with VG, where it's not like your flavor is going to be so diminished, you're going to be like, what the hell, I can't taste anything, all I'm getting is vapor. You'll still get flavor, trust me, you will. Because in a rebuildable, you get a lot more flavor than what you would with, say, like a Pro tank, you know. So there's that. You're pretty much just going to lose just a little bit of flavor, just a hair. If that type of flavor you're vaping is outstanding, then you're not going to notice a difference. But there you go, that's just the difference between PG and VG. Now there's some other bases that they use, USP kosher grade, but that's just a whole nother thing. Now, how would you be able to get clouds with, say, a Pro tank? With the stock heads, even with the Pro Tank 3 where it's a dual coil, you're not going to get clouds. You'll get a very decent vape. If you just want to vape and go, you will be satisfied. But you can work your way around that. You could put, say, because you have so much space in that head, the Pro Tank 3 head, you'll be able to put a sub-ohm coil in there if you build it correctly and it doesn't short circuit on you and it won't fire, it won't vape. If you build it correctly, then you could put like a 0.5 ohm coil on there, put it on your mechanical, and you're good. I did that before and it was vaping great, but the only problem is you have to get the right wicking material. I was using silica, not quite the best wicking materials for a 0.3 ohm on a clear miser, so I recommend using like cotton or something, but just make sure you don't dry burn it. Oh yeah, another thing I was going to tell you guys about the type of wick you want to use is completely up to you. Right now I have silica. I tried going for a soaker build, but it kind of really didn't end up that well. So I'll probably recoil it and re-wick it again just so I can get a shit ton of wick in there, because the amount of wick you put in there will determine how much you can vape it until you get a dry hit. For this thing it's like 17 drops. Some people are thinking, what the fuck? But I can get like 28, and I counted, I can get 28 toots on this thing before I have to drip. That's how good I've had this wick. Now, you can put cotton in it. You could put cotton in here, and you'd still get your flavor, still get your clouds. However, if your wicks are completely dry, and you vape that thing to the point where you're not getting any more vapor, or very diminished vapor, and you're thinking, what the fuck? And you're thinking, I think these wicks are dry, so you take another vape just to try and make sure, and you get a very bad burnt taste. That's because cotton cannot be dry burned. Silica could be dry burned. I think equal could be dry burned, but cotton, it's not fireproof. Silica is more fireproof than cotton. That's why after you've seen people put their builds and they use silica, Excuse me for the notifications. I apologize about that. I'll try and edit it out maybe. You see people putting silica, and they're just they're just looking at it. They're watching it fire. They're watching it get hot, and you're thinking, man, why can't I do that with cotton? I always get burn flavors because you annihilate your cotton. All that heat just goes straight to the cotton, and you burn it, and then you're just gonna have to rewick it. Now, whether or not you want to put a micro coil in here, which is different than a sub-ohm coil. For a 0.3 ohm coil, it has to be a dual coil, or you could just do like 22 gauge cathode, but I wouldn't recommend that. Go for 28 gauge. It's the most sturdy, and you can get the lowest ohm safely on it. If you want to go 27 gauge or 29 gauge, go for it. But that's just from my experience, my vaping experience. To do a 0.3 ohm, you're going to need 2 coils, dual coil, inside. Both coils are going to have to be identical to each other. 3 wraps of 28 gauge. That basically means when you look at the coil, it's going to go 1, 2, 3. And that's how it's going to look. For a micro coil, you're kind of doing the same concept with whether you want to do a dual or a single or a quad, it's pretty much your coils are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8, 9, 10, and you scrunch those coils down. You blowtorch them, and then you scrunch them down. Blowtorch them, scrunch them down. You pretty much get them to look micro, because micro means small, to make them look small. And you can vape a dual micro coil, and you still get some pretty good clouds, but not compared to a sub-ohm coil. But with micro coils, you do have advantages because you can. It's pretty much the differences between a sub-ohm and a micro coil, and I saw this on that ECF, I think is what it's called, the e-cigarette forum, where a micro coil, a sub-ohm coil is like a 65 Shelby Cobra, where carbureted, it's a gas guzzler, but you'll get a shit ton of horsepower and you'll get all the performance. You will leave everybody in the dust. That's pretty much what a sub-ohm coil is. You get massive clouds. It is a gas guzzler on your liquid. You will eat up liquid. That's why you put a shit ton of wick in there, so you don't have to drip every 30 seconds, I mean, this thing, I could literally just chain vape that for like 20, 30 hits and I'd be good until I have to drip again. But that's pretty much what that is. You get a shitload of performance, you get a shitload of vapor, it'll be awesome, you'll still get your flavor, you'll love it. A micro coil is like a Lamborghini, or like a Honda Civic, almost. Kind of like a Lexus or a Bentley. Very fuel efficient, you'll still get those 300 horsepower, but you're not quite going to take off and leave everybody in the dust like with the 65 GT, Mustang, So that's pretty much the differences between the two. And micro coils, even if you build a dual micro coil, you can actually build it to 1.8 ohms, and you still get your clouds, not quite as much as a sub-ohm obviously, but you'll still get your clouds, and you can put it on something like an E-cig or an iTaste 134, or something that has a safety feature built in where if it's below 1.2 ohms, and you built your coils below 1.2 ohms, you're fucked, you can't put it on that device. Build a micro coil at 1.6, 1.8 ohms, you'll be vaping in bliss. So that's a way to work around that. If you've never done a micro coil before, rather than spend your time and money building it yourself, try and get it built at a vape shop, or have a friend who knows what they're doing build it for you. Try it out. If you like it, then you can look up videos on how to do it. I'll maybe do some videos in the future, but that's then. We're talking now. So you pretty much want to do that. If you don't like it, then stick to sub-ohm vaping. If you don't like that, or if after a while you get tired of it, then build your coils to like 1 ohm, 1.3 ohms, and just vape happy, man. Just do what you love. Right now, I'm getting a bit of a dry hip. Okay, so right now, I'm actually vaping some Phoenix Blood by Trolley Vapors. Trolley Vapors? Yeah. Really, really great flavor, by the way. Oh, and another thing I want to tell you guys about nicotine levels. Pretty much, if you're vaping something in a Kangaroo Pro Tank, you're going to want to go a bit higher up on the nicotine if you need your fix, basically. You need your nic fix. You want to get off cigarettes, but you're one of those people that are like, man, E-cigs don't do shit for me. Yeah, try vaping a 24 milligram, see if that don't work. Try vaping a 36, damn it. I always hear these people saying, man, E-cigs don't do shit for me. Yeah, you never tried a 36 of menthol. Why don't you give that one a shot, buddy, and then come back to me. Sub-ohm vaping is a very effective delivery system for nicotine. That's why you want to go lower on your nicotine. If you vape a 24, don't go down to 12, don't go down to 18, go down to 6 or 3 because it is harsh. If you've never vaped rebuildable, especially at sub-ohms, especially at like 0.3, you may want to think about excuse me while I adjust this, just to keep it flush mounted, because I don't know if you can see, but there's a little bit of a gap, so I'm trying to get it flush mounted. You want to go to like 6 milligrams, and you want to get a flavor that you know you're gonna like, that you know is not as harsh. For example, Phoenix Bud, where it tastes like pomegranates and mangoes and a bit of an orange flavor, like a bit very hinty undertones of, I guess you could say citrus. It tastes like melons, but mostly pomegranate and strawberries. That's the flavor that it tastes like. Now, you don't have to get some beautifully complex flavor like 5 Ponds, and you don't have to get a flavor as fancy as Phoenix Bud. If you want to vape some cinnamon flavor, go for it, but if it's too harsh for you, you're not going to enjoy your vape. It's like coffee. You don't want coffee that's too hot, or it's going to scald your tongue, and you're going to end up not liking coffee. You want to get it or it's low enough a temperature where you can drink it and you can appreciate the complexity of the flavor. You can appreciate every flavor that's in it. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but all the flavors that are in it, all of them hitting you at the same time, or in a series, I guess. Some people even vape at 0 nic, and they still cough because the flavor is too harsh. So you don't want to get a flavor that's too harsh, because when you're doing this thing, you want to be doing lung hits. What a lung hit is if you ever heard of people smoking a hookah, where they just that's pretty much what you're doing with this. Obviously not as exaggerated. I don't know if that's exaggerated. You're not exaggerating as much. It's not as epic. You can do it as nonchalant as. And there you go. As opposed to a mouth hit where you take a toot and then if you only used to mouth hits and you try lung hit, you're gonna cough. It's a technique, as Clouds of Icarus, I think his name was Dave when he went on this one video, he literally said it perfectly. It's a technique you have to break in. You can do different methods to get clouds, like when you're taking your drag, you leave 2 spaces open right here, or you have like this and you leave 1 space open right here. You can do that, I sometimes will switch around, and it pretty much gets the vapor denser and you get more throw. Don't quote me on this, but what throw is how far you can shoot your vapor and it still is dense-ish, still looks like a cloud, doesn't look like you're just blowing as far as you can and seeing how far you can get your vapor. It's not kind of really like that. I don't know if you can see how dense that was. I could try the other method. But, yeah. And, so, another thing that you want to go over is airflow. Just like in a car, where you have to get the right fuel to air ratio to get the maximum performance of your engine, or in your car in general, specifically the engine. With rebuildables, you want to get the right vapor to air ratio. You want to have to drill out your own air holes in it.